Okay, today is March 8th. It's a Sunday. It is 6:34 p.m. I feel like I've delayed this part of trading uh, as as long as possible. Okay, uh, it is it is essentially uh, it is essentially it is essentially like a couple of things. Okay, I want to get some coffee. Okay, I got my coffee. So trading. So here's how I would trade, right? I would trade this way. So I know the entry point, the doorway. See, this reminds me of that visit with a priest. He is Father Dominic. Okay, he resides in a compound. Okay, and then I visited him. I got there half an hour early. So what I ended up doing is walking around the compound to figure out how to access that. How to access, because I had communicated with him through email and set up an appointment for a specific time, but I got there like at half an hour early. And so this reminds me of what trading is. So when I got there, because I was early, I was unable to enter into the consciousness of Father Dominic because my appointment time was not there. So I looked around for half an hour, and then when the time came, I rang the doorbell. And the doorbell was the entry point to his consciousness. So essentially, I relate that to trading. So for the past 5 years, a little over 5 years, I have been essentially what I have been doing is looking around without making. I have not made an appointment with the market, Mr. Market. So I liken Father Dominic to Father Market. Okay. So there is a entity called Father Market, and I have to have an appointment with him. When I have an appointment with him, I can't be there early. I have to be right on time. And I have to ring the doorbell, okay, in order to have a conversation with Father Market, okay? So in order for me to have a conversation with Father Market, what I did was this. I looked around for 5 years, and then my appointment time. See, the appointment time is essentially set by Father Market. It's not me. I don't set the market. I don't set the appointment time. It's Father Market that determines the market time. Okay. Father Market decides when he has the time to see me. Okay. So when Father Market appoints that specific time, who knows how long it's gonna be? Okay. Each person has a specific time to meet with Father Market. The Father Market decides when that is. Okay. And then the Father Market will decide what time it is and when to push that doorbell. Just like when I visited Father Dominic. When I was there, I was early. I was way early. So I had to walk around for 30 minutes looking around to see all throughout the compound. Now, Father Market is the same thing because Father Market had an appointment with other people, and my appointment time, Father Market decides when I am ready to see him and when he's ready to see me. But Father Market, essentially, Father Market decides, okay, based on how prepared I am. If I am prepared, then the Father Market will set up a time. Have I made myself clear? I hope I did. Okay, so essentially, I have an appointment with Father Market, and it is now. I am having a discussion with Father Market. Okay, this is a discussion with Father Market. This is an appointment time. The doorbell has rung, and Father Market came to the door, and he answered the door. So Father Market and I am having a conversation now. Okay, Father Market. Okay, Father Market is now telling me a few things. He's asking me, so how are you? Okay, how are you doing? Okay, are you prepared to have this conversation with me? Father Market said. Okay, so then the Father Market said, okay. So now I'm having a conversation with Father Market. Okay, then I thought to myself, okay, so what is important in trading? What is important in trading? What is important? What is important in trading? Trading is essentially the doorway. The doorway to the market is knowing the setup. Okay? The doorway. What's that doing? What? So essentially, I'm now sitting down with Father Market. Okay, so the Father Market is saying this. Okay, so what if I were to reduce everything down to the simplicity of everything? So now I'm gonna get rid of emotion. Okay, emotion has been a problem for me, but now in order for me to get rid of the emotion, all I have to do is trade it systematically. Okay, systematically, meaning that okay. One of the biggest ways to get rid of now Father Market told me is this. Father Market said this. Okay, Father Market said, okay, so in order to get rid of emotion, I have to trade systematically. Okay, because when I place a trade, there's no emotion whatsoever. Okay, so there is a saying that says, okay, you only risk what you can afford to lose. Okay, that's the key word right there. You only risk what you can afford to lose. All right. So that means that if I lose it, then I lost. It's gone. I don't have to worry about it. There's no emotion because I'm risking what I can afford to lose. Okay. I only risk what I can afford to lose. When I do that, then emotion is completely removed from any trade. Okay. So that's how I get rid of my emotion in trading. That's it. There's no if, and, or about it. Father Market told me, right? That's Father Market. So that's Father Market. So Father Market said this, okay? You only risk what you can afford to lose, okay? You only risk what you can afford to lose. That's it. And that simplicity in itself removes all kinds of emotion, addiction, or whatever there is. Okay, that's it. Simple. Now, Father Market is sitting right in front of me, and he is a man of superior credentials. Okay. And just like Father Dominic, I mean, Father Dominic is specifically through the Catholic Church have been designated as an individual who is able to cater to the needs of the specific requirements individuals need in order to be readjusted back into society. Okay, because I can as a Catholic who transitioned into Catholic, I'll tell you what, it was not easy. Okay, in 1 year, I gave blood to the Red Cross 4 times. Okay, what that will do is literally weaken you. It'll cause your brain to be severely undermined, your body to be severely undermined. You literally can't do anything. When you do that, when you give blood 4 times in 1 year, it essentially shuts you down. And that is essentially moving into being a Catholic. For my own journey, I didn't have to be that generous, but I was that generous. There are intricacies into moving into and becoming a Catholic. And one of those are the things that are, so somebody like Father Dominic is able to readjust because it's a traumatic situation to reawakening, reimagining myself into being a Catholic, whereas before I was not. Okay, so that in itself is an adjustment into being a transitioning into it, and market is the same way. And so there is this father market. You see Father Market, I believe, when you're ready to see him. Okay, when Father Market appears when you are ready to see Father Market. Because Father Market doesn't appear until he realizes that you are ready to see him. If you are not ready to see him, Father Market will never show up. Now, those people who are profitable know about Father Market, okay? Because they sat down with him, had a long discussion with him, okay? Because they know Father Market, okay? Father Market knows them, okay? So, in order to remove emotion, said Father Market, is to only trade what you can afford to lose. When you trade only what you can afford to lose, then emotion is completely severed from your consciousness and the subconsciousness. It doesn't matter whatsoever. That's why when I trade a insignificant amount of money, I am completely satisfied any which way it turns out, because it is money that is inconsequential to my life. Because I can afford to lose that money, okay? Because I'm trading money that I can afford to lose, which is an insignificant amount of money, right? That's what it does. It removes emotion. Father Market said, okay? So that's Father Market, okay? So that's Father Market. Okay, now then I've gotten rid of the emotions, okay, of trading. Now then I need to understand the implications of what a trade is, okay? So the doorway to a trade is a setup, okay? The doorway to a trade is a setup, okay? In order to meet Father Market, I have to be at the doorway where Father Market will be there to welcome me into the market, okay? And I can do that only through a doorbell. And the doorbell is the setup. The setup allows me to enter into the trade, okay? Now, if my setup is incorrect, I will not meet Father Market, okay? Meeting Father Market means that I'm in tune with the market. I'm able to have a conversation with the Father Market such that I can take advantage of that meeting with Father Market. And when I trade, okay, being conscious of the Father Market, then I am able to extract. And then if I have a deep conversation with Father Market, I can get a bigger amount from Father Market. Okay, so that's how it works. And so I have to essentially, that's why there's backtesting. Okay, backtesting to see, is it really the doorway? Is that really the doorbell to Father Market? And that can only be done by doing a backtesting. Backtesting tells me that I am ringing the doorbell of Father Market's compound. Okay, so for me, I have a couple of setups that I'm using. One of them is called soft support. The other is breakout trade. And if I look at it like ORBs, ORB is essentially a breakout. Okay, it's a breakout trade because what essentially people use different names, a lot of different names. Okay, a reversal is a soft support, right? Or if it expands out, it can be a strong support, right? But strong support doesn't happen too often. That's why it's the strong support. It happens very little. But so what happens is whenever there is a reversal, or whenever there is essentially, see, when something is breaking out, it coincides with so it can merge together. So the soft support and the breakout can actually merge together because if those things resides in a trend, okay, a Y trend has a support resistance because it bounces from two rails which are contained within a channel. Okay, so they can happily coexist, and something like that, it can be a break and retest kind of situation, right? So because when something has a channel, it does this and this and this, right? And so what it will do is it'll break and then pull back and then retest that area and then goes, right? Some people, what they'll do is, but it's difficult to do because the probability is less. When something does this, pops back up, and when you enter into here thinking that it's going to drop, who knows what's going to happen at here, right? It could just pop right back up. So to be sure, there has to be some sort of better understanding. So meeting Father Market is essentially knowing that there is an appointment time that Father Market made. I don't make it. It's Father Market who makes that decision. Father Market says, okay, I will see you at this time and this place in front of this doorbell. Okay? If you're not there, then we're not going to have this discussion. We're not going to be able to have this conscious discussion between me, the Father Market, and you. Okay? So essentially, what I'm attempting to do is, and I've reviewed this briefly with on YouTube, and I started to review the extent of and the credibility of many of the things that are discussed in YouTube, and many of it just refers to the same concepts but used in a different language. Okay. And there is a huge industry that's out there to specifically are tailored to provide a service to meet Mr. Market. The markets are essentially a deliverance or a middleman that connects me to the market. Okay, like the prop firms, brokerage firms, and all these individuals. There's a lot of businesses out there that helps to essentially introduce me to the market, the Father Market, right? So a lot of things like that do happen. Okay. So then it finally hit me after 5 years. I knew the significance of setups. But people don't talk about that on YouTube. They don't talk about it too in depth because it lends itself to specific conditions like, oh, it doesn't happen all the time, right? They'll describe it, but it doesn't cover all the bases because along with that, there are certain conditions that are required in order to make that more effective in trading. Okay, when I trade that setup, there could be some other factors that I need to incorporate into it, so that it makes a lot more sense. If I don't incorporate those things, it could be the efficacy of that particular setup is not there. So essentially, boiling it down to this is this, okay? Father Market said this, okay? So remove everything else, all the distractions. So when I go on YouTube, there's a lot of distractions out there. A lot of it. There's a lot of distractions. There are like a lot of fishing channels. Fishing channels has zero, there's nothing. There's nothing. It's just a waste of time, okay? So it's a waste of time from me to here. It benefits them, whoever's creating the content for them, and somebody who finds it useful for them is beneficial to them, but it's not useful to me. Because specifically at that moment, when I'm interested in trading, then specifically only trading is relevant to whatever I'm doing, and it becomes irrelevant to me what others are talking about. Any subject matter that's aside from that. Such as the Iran conflict that we're having with the U.S. I mean, it's out there. It is flooding the news organizations everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere, and it can remove time from what's most important, which is right now, for me, Father Market. Having a conversation with Father Market is the most important thing right now. Okay. So I have to have that conversation. But everything else is a complete distraction. Everything is a complete and utter distraction from what I'm trying to do. Because I'm having a conversation with Father Market. And Father Market says this, in simplicity, going back to everything now, okay? So what I need to do is remove all this distraction, okay? And then really boil it down to a like boiling a crab, okay? So the best thing to do, the most important thing is to have a conversation with Father Market. And Father Market says, here are the most important things in trading, okay? Setup, stop loss, entry, and profit target. Essentially, if I were to remove everything else, those are the most important things in trading. Father Market said this, okay? Focus on, you've already gotten rid of emotion now. You spent the past 5 years trying to figure out what emotion is, right? That's emotion, okay? That is emotion. You've explored emotion to the fullest extent, Father Market said, okay? You've explored it already. You know about emotion now. You know it, okay? You know what brings it upon. You know what it does, what causes. It causes road rage. It causes all that stuff. It creates a lot of mess, okay? That's what emotion is. That's what emotion does, okay? That's emotion, okay? Pure and simple and unadulterated emotion, okay? That's emotion. Now Father Market said this. Now that you've gotten rid of it, you are able to have a dialogue with me. And then we can have this meaningful conversation. Whereas if you are still under the duress of emotion, then our conversation will not be effective whatsoever. Okay? But now that you've exhausted the emotion, the subject matter of emotion, now we can have a conversation. Okay? Frank conversation, Father Market said, right? So then, essentially, there are just 4 things that matters. Emotion is gone now. It's gone. I hear you. I've explored it. It was fun. You know, people watch movies because to arouse emotion. Okay. Because so at the least, what it will do is it'll create an intrigue in or to learn something, which is part of that emotion, right? It's an emotion. Okay. It's observing something and acquiring something, and that's why people watch movies, because there's whatever it is, there's drama involved, whether it's action adventure, whatever it is, whether it's horror, whether it's family, or whatever it is, it evokes emotion. Okay, that's what it is. Everything in life, it's about evoking emotion. Okay, to get in touch with reality of being a human being. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, said Father Market. So Father Market is now saying, okay, so that's the current situation, but there are only 4 things that you need to be aware of, okay, and you need to focus on, okay. So the setup is the most important thing. Setup, okay. It makes all the other things a lot easier, okay. Because if I'm familiar with the setup, then I know where the best entry point is. But if I'm in it a little bit later, it could compromise the other things. It could degrade the efficacies of the other 3 parts. Okay. The first part is the setup. The second part is the stop loss. The second part is the entry. The third part is the stop loss, and the fourth part is profit target. Those are the most important parts of it. Okay. They are very, very important. This is now I can specifically engineer myself into understanding that said father market. Okay, that's what father markets told me. Okay, I actually am having a conversation with father market right now. Okay, so I believe it was like a half an hour. I had a conversation with Father Dominic. I believe it was a couple of years ago. It's been quite a while. Okay, so. Now I am having a conversation with Father Market, and this is a recording of me having a conversation with Father Market. This is Father Market. Okay, hi, okay, hi Father Market. I am conscious of you, and I know that you and I are having a conversation. Okay, so we are having a conversation, Father Market. Okay. So then Father Marcus says, okay, there are 4 things that need to be focused because you've already taken care of emotion. It's gone. Emotion is gone. It has been erased from your mind and your consciousness. Well, you are conscious of it, but it has been removed now from your trading. Okay. Now you can spend time focusing on what you need to do as a trader. Okay. Said Father Market. So now there's 4 things, right? One of them is, and by the way, I am essentially making incremental progress towards moving towards the eventuality, hopefully the eventuality of being a profitable trader, right? That's the whole idea behind pursuing this and spending every penny that I have, right? So then, as soon as I know what a setup is, then everything else falls in. Because within a setup, I know how I can picture something. It's like okay, so a human being should have these things at a minimum. They should have 2 eyeballs. They should have hair on their head. They should have a nose. They should have a mouth. They should have a face. They should have 2 ears, okay? And they should have a neck. They should have a body. They should have legs. They should have arms, okay? So these are the characteristics of a human being, right? Said Father Market, right? So same with trading, okay? Same with trading. So a setup is very similar to a description of what a human being is or what an elephant is, okay? One of the requirements of an elephant is to be, on a mature adult, should be very big. It has to have 4 legs, okay? And it has to have a long nose, okay? It may or may not have a tusk, okay? It has to have 2 eyeballs, and it has to have very thick skin so that when a lion jumps on it to eat it, its thick hide will protect it, right? So that means that a setup has a similar characteristics of what that is, and that similar characteristics is this: it has to have support and resistance, which defines profit target and stop loss. Okay, that's the description. And then the entry point is crystal clear because when that trade evolves based on that setup is essentially saying, okay, the complete picture of that setup is not available yet, okay, but it will be visible, okay.
Could Get yourself an Amish girl.
It will be available. It's going to be available, okay? It will look like it and it will be available. Because it will be available, which means that it has a picture, but it hasn't been formed yet. But because I know what the setup is, it's going to form into it. It's going to create it, okay? So what the setup is telling me is that I don't have to know that it is an elephant based on a full picture or hindsight view of it. It is telling me on a statistical basis, if it has a long nose, chances are it's not an aardvark, okay? It will probably, because of there's a couple criterias. One of them is, it has a long nose, it's big, it has a tusk, it has 2 eyeballs. I don't need to know that it has 4 legs. Based on that limited information, it's telling me, Father Market said, that it is most likely a elephant. It's most likely an elephant, okay? Based on that description. That's what a setup is. That's giving me a picture. So based on that partiality of that picture painted by a setup, it's letting me know what it's going to be. And statistically, based on what I have, the information that I have, it's going to tell me that's what it's going to be. So the critical component of, that's why S&P Capital, they're very kind in describing what their methods are, essentially having confluences. Confluences are creating a picture of what the setup is going to be. Okay, essentially, there's either it's going to go up, it's going to go down. Okay, essentially that's what they're doing. It's so there's only 2 beasts. There's only 3 beasts and 3 beasts. Okay, there are only 3 different animals in the market. Okay, in the world, okay, in our consciousness, there's lots of animals. Okay, that's why Noah built this huge ship, because in order to carry all these varieties of animals. But in the trading kingdom, there's only 3, right? It'll go up. There's an animal that goes up, and there's an animal that goes down. There's an animal that goes sideways, and the confluences that describes it creates a picture of what that is and makes it simpler to understand, right? It makes it simpler. Now, the complexity, Father Market said, is this. Okay, the complexity is this, because it's based on a time frame. A time frame defines what it's going to be. It's one of those 3 things. It's going to go up, it's going to go sideways, it's going to go down, based on that time frame. Within that time frame, if the time frame is wide enough, then all 3 can happen multiple times or just once. Okay, or maybe 2 things could happen. Okay, it could go up, it could come down, or if given enough time, what it will do is it'll go up, down, sideways, up, down, all that stuff. Okay, Father Market said that's the reality of that situation. So when I'm making a trade based on the specific time frame of my interest, because it tells me what trading time frame that I'm looking at. Okay, I'm looking for I'm looking at a specific time frame to trade in order for me to be benefited from that trade. If my trade is based on a short time frame and I'm holding it for a longer time frame, it is possible that one time frame does not align with another time frame. So it could be an inverse factor into, or it could be incorrect. My thesis would be incorrect if I held it in a different manner. That's why now if I reflect on it, I could be in profit, and then a little bit later it'll reverse and go the direction, which means that I've exceeded the time frame that I've allocated to say that when I'm making a trade that is valid for this time frame. But if I hold it long enough, then that time frame is incorrect. Okay, it could happen. It happens all the time. I've seen it before. It does that. Okay, said Father Market. So what I need to do, what I need to focus on then is to really create a picture. A crystal clear picture. It's a crystal clear picture of what a setup is. Okay, Father Market. So then Father Market said this, okay? So then Father Market said this to me. He said this, okay? He said, I'm having a conversation with Father Market, okay? And it's like 34 minutes now, and the time is almost over. Okay, Father Market, because he has appointments with somebody else. Okay, so what is the most important thing? Father Market said on a parting words, and he said this to me. He said this: the most important thing in trading is knowing your setup. Know your setup, Father Market said. Why? Because if I know what the setup is, then I know how it's going to proceed throughout time from my entry point to the eventuality of either stop loss or profit target. Because it gives me a picture of what will happen when I have a crystal clear picture of what the setup is. So Father Market said this: the setup is the most important thing in trading, because it defines, before the trade occurs, of what will happen. And if I define it correctly, then what will happen the way it's supposed to be. And then Father Market says, okay, it's time's up. Okay, Father Market said, look, I have to see other people now. Okay, your time is limited. Okay, and it's so if you need to talk to me again, you can set up another appointment. But Father Market said this. Okay, just remember this. Father Market said, the most important thing in trading. Okay, there are other things that are important, but the most important thing in trading is knowing where that doorbell is to get into the trade. Knowing how to get into the trade has direct impact on what profit target is, where the stop loss is. The most important part is knowing the setup, so that I know where the entry point is, I know where the stop loss is, and I know where the profit target is. So, as parting words, Father Market said, know your setup. That's the most important thing. Okay? God bless you. Okay? And may God be with you on this journey, said Father Market.